Welcome to Live Breathe Film, episode 86. You're here with Corey, Doug, and Murph. Thank you for joining us. Today we'll be reviewing The Flash and the state of the DCU during these very turbulent times. We'll be heavily discussing box office results for that film, along with some of the films that have come out over the last couple of weeks as well, along with the overall summer box office and where we're at with our summer box office pool. But yeah, the majority of the episode will really be focused on The Flash. We also have the Superman casting announcements today, so we'll likely touch upon that as well. But let's dive right into box office. All right, DC and Pixar's brands currently are hurting. DC especially is hurt. So we can talk about why both of them are in their various predicaments that they're in. Since our last episode, Transformers Rise of the Beast has also come out. That's shown that the franchise has a little bit of life in it. Still, it's already, by the end of this weekend, will have outperformed the last two entries in the series. So, Doug, that turned into a solid pick for you. Who the fuck would have thought that would outperform The Flash and Elemental?
Yeah, no, that kind of is helping keeping me alive right now, is that Transformers pick.
Yeah, because right now you're currently in the lead of our box office pool with 547 million. The Little Mermaid has been holding relatively well. This past week it only dropped 22%, which fantastic. I guess right now it's the third biggest film of the summer. But then Transformers was like your fifth pick, I think.
It was a later pick.
Yeah, I think it was.
I had already picked.
You picked Little Mermaid, Flash, Elemental, and Oppenheimer all before it. So yeah, that was your fifth pick, and right now it definitely looks like it's going to make more than the Flash and Elemental. So kudos there for that pick. Yes. Yeah, the majority what we'll be talking about is Elemental and the Flash. So we'll jump into the other two of our numbers and then get back into them. But Corey, you've been on top since day one this summer because you had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, along with Book Club: The Next Chapter and Fast 10. Currently, after this past weekend, you're at 514 million. So only 33 million behind. Doug, you have Ruby Gillman coming up along with Insidious: The Red Door. So you should be able to move back into first. I'm
really worried about Ruby Gillman. I feel like that movie's going to hit.
That's what I think too.
Well, it's projected for under 10 million this weekend, which
really?
I'm shocked.
Really?
I am shocked at that. I thought that was going to be a good one.
Yeah, but we'll see if the projections turn out to be correct, or the tracking turns out to be correct or incorrect. But I was a little surprised when I saw that.
It just seems like there's a lot of, when I go online, it just seems like there's a lot of people that seem interested in that movie compared to Elemental, where I was getting zero interest.
Yeah, no. Elemental has at least been lucky enough to have strong word of mouth. Had a solid cinema score, and a small second weekend drop. Only 37%. I think its second weekend drop was like half of what the Flash's second weekend drop was. It's just absurd. It's insane that the Flash opened to 55 million and Elemental opened to 29 million, and yet on weekend 2, Elemental is above the Flash. And No Hard Feelings nearly supplanted it as well, along with Spider-Verse, which is now at the back of the box, number one at the box office. So yeah, Corey, you two are going to be neck and neck when we get to the big Oppenheimer Barbie box office battle this summer that fucking all the cinephiles and film nerds are looking forward to. The big Greta Gerwig versus Christopher Nolan two polar
Oppenheimer's
opposite films.
Oppenheimer's another one where I'm like feeling no excitement from anybody about, except for like the really big movie nerds.
The movie nerds were fucking cheering during. It was during the Flash show, so it ultimately means nothing. But they were cheering during the Oppenheimer trailer and the Dune Part 2 trailers. So we know what directors are popular with the nerds that go to see Thursday night movies, or Thursday night DC movies. Um,
Yeah, I mean he has his following. I just don't feel like the general public even like knows that this movie's coming out, or if it does, that there's anything in the trailers to excite people.
the good thing is it's adult skewing, so it's not the type of movie that needs a massive opening. It can, with word of mouth, it can leg out throughout July and August because it's the last adult feature really of the summer. It's gonna be that.
Problem is it's
It's gonna be
not.
that and Mission Possible are going to be the two movies that like carry adults for the rest of the summer until the Equalizer comes out.
It's not though. It's not like a feel good movie, so it's gonna be
No,
like, oh,
definitely
you want
not.
to see that sad movie with that sad guy who
You're
did a
right.
sad thing?
It's not a feel good movie, but that did not keep Saving Private Ryan from being the biggest movie of summer 1998. Granted, 1998 is a very long time ago, and
And
the
there was action in it.
you're right, there was action in it as well. Um, Made more than Dunkirk, even despite 20 years of inflation or 19 years of inflation. Yeah, 19 years of inflation, um, which is pretty crazy. And an R rating versus PG-13. So this will be a big test to see what Nolan's got. Barbie is going to be playing on some Dolby screens, Corey. So you will have some premium screens. Oppenheimer isn't taking every single one of them. Um, Tom Cruise can still be disappointed because he only gets his 10 days on big screens. But that's one that's projected to have a franchise high 5-day debut of right now we're looking at 90 million. We'll see if with the word of mouth that moves up. But yeah, circling back to each of our rankings, I'm in third, by about 200 million behind, as I've had now Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and No Hard Feelings. No Hard Feelings, pretty happy with its opening. It was my last pick in the draft, 15 million for an R-rated comedy. I'm pretty happy with that. Hopefully, it can leg out because it's got there's not too many comedies nowadays. I mean, we've got Joyride coming out in 2 weeks. Kind of wish it was a little bit further along. Then we've
I
got
think Joyride's gonna suck up some of that audience because it's apparently Joyride's like much raunchier, like outrageous.
Yeah,
it could.
it's a hard R.
I think I don't know. No Hard Feelings, I think, has more male and female appeal. Like I don't know about you guys, but like when Bridesmaids came out, it didn't seem like any guys wanted to go see that. Like in our group of friends, I don't know when Girls Trip came out. If I don't think any of us have saw Girls Trip. They made money. Don't like don't. I'm not saying like it's impossible for this one to be a hit. I think it looks very funny. I'll definitely be seeing it. But yeah, we'll see what No Hard Feelings can ultimately do in the grand scheme of things. At least it has a 4th of July holiday coming up, so at least 1 week where it can have maybe a solid hold. But
Fourth
yeah,
of July is gonna be the weekend of the Flash. It's gonna be where finally like
yeah, no, everyone was waiting for weekend 3 because they were just expecting the theaters to be so full that they pre-ordered tickets for week 3.
yeah, nothing says like patriotism like the Flash.
I saw that Fandango is offering buy one get one tickets for the Flash. Fuck, man, that's
fucked up.
it's embarrassing.
I heard it already got a streaming date.
Yeah, it comes out July 10th, I think.
Is that like a VOD date?
Yeah, that's the VOD date. It's like July 10th or the following week. It's somewhere around there.
I'm surprised they didn't get it out by 4th of July. At the rate it's dropping. It's going to drop so hard again this weekend.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like this movie's not going to top some of the biggest like DC flops in history. Like after its opening weekend, like its trajectory is it's worse than Green Lantern, Batman and Robin, and Watchmen.
It's sooner than that, actually. It's July 7th.
July. Okay, all right. So they're doing it right after 4th of July.
I read something. They might have changed it because I read something this morning, and people are reporting something different now. So
it could still move up to 4th of July.
It could, yeah.
Don't count it out.
Yeah, anything's possible with this movie.
Yeah, they changed it. They did. It was originally what I said. I guess the 10th, and then now it's the 7th. Wow. So yeah, you're right. They could shadow drop it on Friday for the long. That would be the smart thing to do. Why the hell, if you're going to do the 7th, why wouldn't you just release it? Push it up a couple days. That'll
maybe they're hoping that they can preserve some of the box office.
I mean, if it dropped 73% in its second weekend, it's dropping at least another 50% in weekend 3 at minimum. Probably going to be significantly more. There was no competition. That all there was an R-rated movie, that R-rated comedy, and a Wes Anderson expansion in its second weekend, and it dropped 73%. Now it has Indiana Jones like as competition. It's already going to be. Do we know? I don't think we know the theater counts for this weekend, but it's going to lose a lot of theaters and a lot of screens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd just prioritize Indy over it for sure.
Yeah.
And Elemental and Spider-Verse and every other movie that's out.
Elemental and Spider-Verse both fucking are showing legs. So like, yeah, why would you give any love to the Flash? It's got to be playing to mostly empty auditoriums at this point.
Yeah, I would release that on like the 30th and have it run on VOD all weekend.
Yeah. But with me, I'll be running behind you guys for a long time, since most of my movies are midsummer. Indiana Jones right now is projected for its 3-day, somewhere between 60 and 70. We'll see if, with the reviews improving, hopefully it has strong word of mouth from actual audiences. I mean, this was something that had like, when it first debuted at Cannes, what did it have? Like a 30-something?
I don't know.
It was like a 30 or 40-something. It was really fucking bad. It's up to 66 now. Elemental was another one that, when that first was on Rotten Tomatoes, that had a 50-something. Now that's up to a 76. So hopefully Indy can continue to rise over the next few days. Consensus is better than Crystal Skull, so it doesn't make sense that its reviews are, that its scoring is below Crystal Skull. But
like, you could say that about a lot of the movies. Like, it just feels like critics are harder on these movies for some reason.
I guess. I mean, you'd think the critics would be easier because these aren't now the type of people that are reviewing movies. They're reviewing sequels to movies that they were fans of growing up. So you think they'd be easier on the franchises, which for most part you do see like people being a little less lenient on, like Fast and Furious is like a perfect example of a franchise where it got absolutely shit on for its first few entries. And then a decade later, you're having younger people reviewing movies that grew up on Fast and Furious movies. Granted, the movies did get better, but the reviews also went up significantly. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with Indy. I'm not expecting much. I think we all had a movie that we fucked up with in our first 2 rounds. Indy being my movie, most likely. Doug, The Flash being your movie, and Fast 10 being your movie, Corey. And and then we're likely all getting a movie in the third round that we probably should have drafted in the first or second round. Like I'm expecting Barbie to be pretty fucking big. For me, I'm expecting Mission Impossible to be big, and the Spider-Verse will likely be the biggest movie of the summer, unless something in the back half jumps ahead of it. And then, for Doug, for you, I guess your movie. We don't know what your movie is yet. Could be Oppenheimer. Could be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Could be Gran Turismo. Who knows? Could be Transformers.
Yeah, I'm regretting the swing for the fences on the Flash pick, obviously, in hindsight. I knew that was a risky move and that the safe bet was Spider-Verse, but just had to take that swing.
Yeah, I'm glad you took it, man. Thank you. Because I swung for the fences was my number one pick, and I don't think it's going to work out for me. Guardians was the safe pick. We've talked about it. And after its opening weekend, it performed like the movie that, it ultimately performed exactly like what we were expecting. Like around
what did it end up?
$50 million.
350.
Yeah, it'll end up probably like 360.
I didn't think it was going to get that.
Yeah. What's interesting though is because the initial box office wasn't so high, had that movie had middling reviews, it could have been like
a massive fall.
It could have been a big fall for that movie.
Yeah, it could have been like $275 million total.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that like Marvel usually like the fans show up like for the first, for the opening weekend, and you see like a really high performance. So it's interesting that Guardians didn't come in on the high, and then word of mouth seemed to kind of carry it through the day.
Yeah, because what I was saying before Guardians opened was I just didn't feel like I was seeing hype, and it sort of translated into its opening weekend. But the word of mouth was so strong that it eventually performed like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 should have performed with hype, right in the middle of Guardians 1 and 2. So
it was very delayed.
Yeah.
And that makes me think that, had Flash been the movie that, the greatest movie ever, or, like what it was being proclaimed to be, and it was actually like a really good movie, we probably wouldn't be seeing these drop-offs.
We've gotten to the point with Marvel movies where they're falling the way, like in like Phase 4 or 5, they're traditionally falling the way the DCEU movies would fall on weekend 2 in the early half, like the first 5 years of the DCEU, where there'd be big drops in the second weekend, but not these insane drops that we're seeing of late. Now the DCEU movies are dropping like fucking stones. We thought like Batman vs Superman's drop was crazy, or some of the other ones from the early days where their 60-something% drops are nuts. But now we're at the 70-something, like approaching 75%. That's just wild.
Second worst drop, right, for a superhero movie?
It's third. We've always been forgetting about Steel. Doug, you even remember what Steel is? The way I can't really see your reaction.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay. The Shaquille
O'Neal
film, superhero movie Steel from the summer of 1997. It actually dropped 78% in its second week. It only opened though to less than $2 million. So it was a very different type of expectations are higher now. It didn't even open in 2,000 theaters. So this is if we exclude
it's Steel, Morbius, Flash.
It's Steel, Morbius, Flash, and then Dark Phoenix, and then I believe maybe Batman vs Superman is right after that, or something, or Quantum Mania, something like that. But it's a real crazy turn of events for Warner Brothers. But I mean, we knew this year was going to be a lot of, like, you were selling product that, why should people have people have an investment in it? We knew it was all getting rebooted. They've been very hesitant in saying who is getting rebooted and things like that. And like, there could potentially be a Flash 2 or Shazam. It's kind of its own thing. So he's not in the Justice League, so we could bring him over. But people just haven't been buying what they've been selling.
And you heard Kevin Smith saying that, I forget who it was saying that if the Flash performed really well, that they were going to have Keaton back for Batman Beyond. I don't think that was true.
Well, we've had 3 different.
I think it was.
Yeah, I think like maybe under like
Hamada.
The first, under Hamada, yes, maybe we would have gone Batman Beyond.
There's no way Gunn was. I think Gunn was just like, this is ending.
Gunn was the one. Yeah, Gunn. All right, we had the Hamada ending, which Barry Allen returns, and we're obviously going into spoilers. Nobody cares about this movie anyway. You've either seen it or you don't care about it. So we can just talk freely. The first ending under Hamada was Barry returning and Michael Keaton and Sasha Calle. They were both there. So Ben Affleck's Batman was replaced with Michael Keaton, and Supergirl is there. So that was the original ending. Then after Hamada left, after Discovery merged with Warner Brothers, they did another shoot. This was back in, I guess, the fall of 2022. Both those actors still in the scene. They both returned for filming. They also had Gal Gadot return and Henry Cavill return. And it was basically going to be business as usual. It was going to go into some sort of Crisis on Infinite Earths type of event. We would have got a Flash 2. Things would have only mildly rebooted. Then Gunn comes in, gets hired in November of 2022. Doesn't have a lot of time to work on shaking things up. Obviously, we know what he lets Henry Cavill know he's no longer part of the universe. Black Adam bombs. That is done. He announces his whole new slate of films for his Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters. And Keaton is no longer part of the picture anymore. We know there's a Supergirl movie coming out. Probably after this, it's going to be a new Supergirl actress, is my expectations. So what do? They just go with something fun and basically end the DCU with a joke. Yes.
Yeah.
And have George Clooney be the one replacing Ben Affleck. The irony being, who would have thought George Clooney could have been in a less successful DC movie than Batman and Robin, and somehow the Flash is going to make less money than it. It's pretty fucking wild. But yeah, this was just a movie that offended every corner of fandom for DC.
Are we jumping into the movie review?
I guess we're not fully jumping into the movie review. We should talk a little bit about Pixar first.
The Flash, it bombed. I don't know that it's hard to say what the issue was. The Flash had its own issues, but when you looking back at Black Adam, it's like maybe The Rock, maybe Dwayne Johnson saved that movie from bombing even harder. Maybe his star power, in hindsight, did help that movie. Everyone underestimated the fact of how bad DC movies are doing right now.
Were people hyped for Henry Cavill coming back for that post-credit scene?
Maybe they
bring some butts in the seats.
That's a good point.
I don't know. But the Snyder fandom is not fucking happy about this whole reboot. General audiences that already were just disappointed by the inconsistency in the DCU. At this point, it's just a brand that why bother unless like it gets super strong reviews, or it's just in its own universe, like the Batman.
I was gonna say
Or
like these
Joker.
Elseworld things. I mean, I guess they're not Elseworld yet, but seem to perform well.
They perform
Batman.
much better.
Yeah, Batman. I'm sure Joker too is gonna like. I don't.
Gonna clean up.
I think that'll probably perform pretty well too.
I think it's gonna be massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Massive, I think.
So it's just kind of bizarre, but this like continuation of the Snyderverse, just no one seems to care about it.
I think
Yeah.
whoever said it, I think it multiple layers of issues. Like it offended Murph, you said it. It offended like a lot of corners of different fandoms. I think that's it. I think there were so many negatives going into opening weekend on so many levels that ultimately everyone who probably would have gone and seen this movie opening weekend decided not to, except for the big fans, which were really like ultimately like us.
Yeah.
I mean, even a lot of the big DC fans, I know some that didn't even go see it. They're just like, eh. I mean, we know one that JP.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was like,
I'll
which
see it on
one is
VOD.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's,
but if
he's someone who
if-
fucking loves the Michael Keaton movies.
Yeah.
And he's like, I read the spoilers. Doesn't sound like the reviews are that good. I'll wait.
I also don't think the marketing did a very good job promoting this movie. And I know we've talked about that. It was
what
very
could they have done though?
I think one thing is I think they could have called the movie Flashpoint, number one, and could have really focused more on Batman. But
They would have had to add the word Batman into the title because
Mhm.
Flashpoint wouldn't mean anything to most people.
Batman Flashpoint or Batman in Flashpoint, I don't know. I think that would have helped a lot.
Yeah, but then you have like the audiences going thinking that they're seeing like after week one, it would probably fall even
Well,
harder.
It
After
very
seeing-
much was a Flash movie.
After
Like,
seeing the
that
movie,
Yeah,
it would be lying. Like I was,
it would totally
My-
be lying.
my biggest disappointment in the movie was the fact that I didn't think Michael Keaton's Batman got a sufficient like story arc, and I thought Barry Allen got a great one. Like it was a Flash movie.
Yeah.
I don't know what they could have done. Ezra Miller
they tried.
Ezra Miller's not a star, but the people who are aware of him know he's fucked up, like he's done or they have done terrible things.
Yeah,
I don't think most moviegoers are even aware of his personal turbulent.
I don't think so
crimes.
either.
I think people who like talk about it online are a small minority. I just think he's not a remotely bankable draw. His only movies
Yeah,
that he's been in that were successful was Justice League, and fucking everyone hated Justice League.
he's not a great character. Like his character is like one of the worst characters in the Justice League. It's not like he was like one of the most loved characters in this team up movie. He was like kind of a throwaway, annoying character. Plus, I don't think this is like not the majority of the reviews I saw, but there were reviews that I saw that were influenced by the fact that Ezra Miller like had baggage
Yeah.
and talked about it, and it seemed to like play out in the review a bit, that piece of it. So like maybe it didn't affect, like personally I don't know that the review is bad, or I don't know that baggage behind Ezra Miller, but I'm reading a review, it's negative. Someone saw the movie and had a hard time separating how horrible of a human Ezra Miller was from the movie itself. I mean I think the movie has problems, so I don't think you can blame it by any stretch of the imagination on that, but I think it probably played into it a little bit.
Yes, I think it probably played into a little. I think it's one of the many factors. I don't think they should have done all the advanced screenings that they did. All of those people that would have gone to the advanced screenings would have gone day one to see it. It
Yep.
would have had a bigger opening weekend. The way they promoted the movie of hyping it up as like God's gift to Earth, I think backfired significantly. It seemed to have come right from the top, like David Zaslav saying it was the greatest superhero movie of all time. James Gunn did say it was one of the best superhero movies that he's seen. He didn't go as far as saying it was the greatest of all time. But then they had like major voices like Tom Cruise and Stephen King saying they saw it and they loved it. Stephen King, I understand saying why he loved it because Andy Muschietti did it. So like there's that connection there. Tom Cruise still weird that his voice was as passionate about the movie.
I mean, he could have legitimately liked the movie.
He could have.
The movie's not bad.
The movie's not bad.
It's a
You're
good
right.
movie.
Yeah, we haven't gotten into our actual thoughts on it
yet,
which we'll get to soon. I just thought it was a strange play in how they went about marketing this one. It was like they were overcompensating, and they knew it, and like the public could like sniff it out. But there was just general disinterest. It was like everyone saw like this and was just like, I don't have interest in it. And then anyone who did saw it week one and they either thought it was good or they fucking hated it. And I'm just seeing people just like enjoying watching its fall online, like just finding it to be the funniest thing in the world at how hard it is crashing. Because it's such a rare thing when something does so poorly.
Not so rare anymore. If you have DC in front of it, it seems like
you're
it's
right.
becoming like the norm.
DC is kind of poison. Ever since Aquaman was its last in the DCEU was its last fucking hit. And then its other hits after Aquaman were Joker and the Batman, completely unrelated to the DCEU. So they have no choice but to reboot this. If they continued to go in the way that they were going, it would have been a fans-only affair that general audiences just aren't interested in because they don't trust the brand. I don't know if they're ever going to be able to get people fully on board again.
I agree. I agree with you. I don't know. I don't know how. Although the one thing that they have, I think potentially in their favor, is that Marvel is slowly losing grip on the fans community.
Yeah, they don't have,
no one's really interested, or less people are interested. So maybe they'll be able to turn the tables a little bit and be able to get people more focused on their stuff instead of Marvel's because of, the disinterest. I don't know.
I get what you're saying, but by the time the tables would turn, Marvel's going to be bringing in X-Men, Fantastic Four, all these other things that people are clamoring for. They're going to be on their next major level event of Avengers movies.
There's too much of a gap. They should be doing it now, but
there's no time.
Yeah.
So,
I personally think, like with the superhero genre, I think the better that Marvel does can actually help DC because I think Marvel like creating like superhero like fatigue, we'll call it, or just like mediocre superhero movies and getting people tired of superhero stuff. I don't think that's helpful for DC.
You want all the tides to lift all the boats.
High tides all
lift
boats.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
Via like quality. One brand going down. There's some people who don't know the difference between Marvel and DC. Like, there are those people. They're like, is X-Men Marvel DC? Like, because they've never seen them in the MCU. Like, people aren't as savvy as we are, or plenty of other people that are fans. So, yeah, I think quality is important overall. But we're at a point where now it's going to be good comic book movies are successful. Mediocre ones are not successful. They're going to have smaller opening weekends than they used to, and they're going to have bigger drops than they used to.
Which is going to create... It's going to create a new dynamic in what studios greenlight, right? You're not going to throw...
Hopefully less movies.
$400 million, $500 million into a superhero movie, and just hope it does well. when it has the opportunity to bomb like Flash or like some of these other movies, and you're out 200 million, $300 million, like I think they're going to be a lot more careful about, if I'm going to spend big, I'm going to spend it on these bigger movies. And it's a question of, you either have two approaches: just only make a handful of like make a lot less movies, but make sure they're really, really good. Or when you do make movies that you're less sure about, do we see the budgets get cut to something that's, you could take the hit.
Yeah.
And then there's
It's hard with
Sony,
the
who
superhero
continues
stuff,
to
though.
do whatever the fuck they want.
Sure. The Craven movie kind of looks cool though. Even if the every villain is an anti-hero is a ridiculous concept. But
It's going to be hard for that movie to succeed, but I don't know what's the budget on that thing. It shouldn't be super high.
My guess is it's not super high.
Yeah, I don't think.
That's the play, is like, if you're going to do something like that, you can't really spend more than like
That's
$100
why
million.
Morbius didn't lose money.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't expensive.
I think Sony has figured out a really good way to get these movies out where obviously the special effects aren't incredible, but they're good enough and the budget's not super high.
Yeah.
I mean, Morbius definitely didn't have great special effects, but
Feige knows that they are doing too much. They've certainly cut down the amount of content this year. James Gunn has made it clear we're like a 2-movie-a-year type of production. Like that's what we're going to be in the future. He certainly understands the concept of superhero fatigue, and that crappy stuff leads to people wanting to see less of these movies or having less trust in them and being more selective in what they see. And I trust that he will, when he has full control of the product, the movies will consistently be better. It's just by the point where his movies start coming out consistently, are people going to care anymore? And is that DC brand so damaged that people will only see stuff related to Batman and the Joker?
Yeah.
Because there has not been a Superman hit since 1980. 1981, when Superman 2 came out. It is so risky kicking off your new series with Superman.
I still can't believe he is doing it, but more power to him.
Yeah, he totally got pressured into it. He seems like he got the story he wanted and was ultimately happy doing it.
Oh, the WB wanted
Peter Safran wanted him to do it.
Okay. Interesting.
They wanted him to do it when he did the Suicide Squad, but he didn't have an idea for it.
Okay.
But then he has an idea for it now.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about the future of DC.
I mean, I get it, though. I mean, assuming that they do want to do the Justice League again at some point, Superman's kind of like the glue of the
yes, you can't not do Superman. But is it wise to kick it off again with Superman? I don't know.
Especially when the last actor who played Superman is so loved, and people that have been putting money in your pockets are pissed off that you're recasting.
Yeah. Also, the people that were putting money in the pockets didn't lead to profitability for Man of Steel.
True.
Batman vs Superman or Justice League. Or very little profits. The Snyder fans are a loud minority.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, you could make him be like Pa Ken, or I mean, he's a little young for Pa Ken, but like you could find a way. You could find something to throw him in there. Assuming he still wants to play ball. It seemed like they tried to leave on decent terms.
Yeah,
with Cavill.
it seems like all these splits have been amicable. Nobody wants to look like the asshole. Like The Rock doesn't want to look like a bigger asshole than he already did. Like with this whole situation, so he's been very courteous in the things that he has said to make it look like these were as amicable as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Henry Cavill being like, yeah, I'm disappointed, but I understand they're going in another direction. And James Gunn being like, Henry Cavill got fucking blackballed by the previous regime, and unfortunately, he got dicked around, but this isn't the Superman movie that I'm looking to make. One where he would be the type of leading actor that he needs. He needs somebody in their 20s. David Corenswet, or Corenswet. How do we pronounce his name? Do we know yet?
Corden Sweat.
Because
I thought it.
Corden Sweat, I think.
I don't know.
We're all fucking fact checking this one.
Yeah.
David Corenswet.
Yeah, Corden Sweat.
No D. Corenswet.
Corenswet. Okay.
And then we've got Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. Maybe we'll get a Lex Luthor and Jimmy Olsen by the end of the week. Who knows? We may have a actor strike at the end of the week. So I know they're trying to lock down deals as quickly as possible with people. But we got these two in so far. We're going all over the place. But fuck it, this is what we do. We're not organized. I guess we could just talk about Pixar next time. Let's just keep it with DC.
Pixar getting snubbed.
Pixar, it's classic Pixar. The funny thing is Elemental's going to make more than The Flash.
I was just going to say that.
And
what a fucking thought.
If it has legs, it might end up making more than The Good Dinosaur did and Lightyear did as well.
Never would I have thought that.
It's a good movie.
Ever.
It's getting fucked by the expectations of being a Pixar film. It really should have been a 90-something movie, if you compare it to its other 90-something movies on Rotten Tomatoes. If it didn't open at Cannes, I think it would have over a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. It jumped 20% because of from where it was originally at. If it didn't have that damage with it, I think it probably would have opened in the 80s to 90s. On Rotten Tomatoes.
I think it's safe to say Disney's not going to show their shit at Cannes anymore.
Fuck yeah.
I would hope.
I think they've learned that lesson pretty hard.
Big mistake. It has hurt Elemental, and it is likely going to hurt Indiana Jones as well. But yeah, thankfully for Pixar, Elemental held well. It's going to be a massive loss for it. Everything Disney has been putting out has been a massive loss for the past year. Elemental, Lightyear, Strange Worlds, Quantumania, Love and Thunder. If you put all their movies in a big pile, it's a massive fucking loss.
They're gonna make up for it with Haunted Mansion, right? That's when they're gonna.
Yeah, that's gonna be the big turnaround.
They're gonna turn it all around.
Hopefully, it can pull $100 million. Probably cost more than what it's gonna end up making. But hey, I can't say I'm upset. First of all, this is all under the Bob Chapek. These are all his shit that he was involved with. This isn't the Iger era, so things can turn around. And I'm not exactly upset to see Disney fucking suffering for a little bit after being on top for so long.
They just
makes a better product.
Yeah, they just bought a bunch of IP.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of their
we're going to
strategy.
ultimately get better product.
We bought Fox, we bought Star Wars, we bought Pixar, we bought Marvel. We buy literally everything. We bought the Muppets. That has been their way of doing business for the past 20 years, basically. And then getting rid of the talent that they had. They had no choice but to get rid of John Lasseter. But Pixar's clearly hurting with not having its old guard around anymore. They're having growing pains with only having so many people from the original brain trust around. But they are still putting out quality films. It's just parents are attuned to having their kids just wait for Disney Plus for any Disney animated movie. I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing how Wish performs in November. Because that's a Disney princess movie. That's the type of shit that should be a massive hit. If it doesn't,
Still could be.
I'm worried we're gonna get like all sequels all the time from Disney and Pixar.
Yeah, I don't think that's. I think that's the wrong message to take away from it. I think
I agree.
what people are getting tired of is like they seem to be playing it like pretty safe
Mhm.
and just trying to follow like the standard formulary, and they need just like some freshness. Like they need to like really get some fresh, unique takes.
Yeah,
I think Spider Verse is kind of. I mean, granted, there's a big
it's a massive IP.
IP behind it, but I think like people are gravitating towards it because the art style is unique. It's just kind of like a unique property.
Yeah, yeah. No,
And it's
the
not.
standard look of Disney Pixar films isn't enough to cut it anymore. Like they're expensive films to make. They look a lot better than the DreamWorks movies and the Illumination movies. Um, but for whatever reason, kids are going gaga for the just lack of substance of those two brands. Um, and then
Because
others,
kids don't fucking care about
I know,
like
you're right.
how great the how like
Yeah,
in depth the
kids
plot
aren't
is.
interested in seeing a movie that is really about immigration and and trying to live up to like being a first generation child and the expectations that their parents hold for them. Yeah, no, kids aren't. That's not what kids are looking for. They're happy with Minions. Um,
Yeah, they just want something fun to watch.
but yeah, I mean, Pixar's still putting out shit with like complex themes or deeper themes that are more attuned to all audiences. It's just not working right now. So yeah, I don't think all sequels all the time is the way to go. I think it's only going to hurt in the long run. Um, because they have some thinking they needed to do. But let's talk about the Flash for the rest of the episode. Unless you have anything else to say about Pixar.
I don't.
Okay.
I'm gonna be right back.
Yeah, no.
But feel free to start.
Okay. All right, we'll talk about the Flash, our thoughts on it, and then we'll talk about the future of. We'll get back to our conversation about the future of DC. Corey, you and I both seem to have the exact same opinion, like on the Flash, on what we enjoyed, what we
Mm-hmm.
didn't so much enjoy, or what we were mildly disappointed about. Ultimately, we both thought it was a good movie. Both in the, I think we both had it in the top half of the movies the DCU has put out. Um, was not like the best like we were hoping for, based on the way it was presented going into the film. But ultimately, it was a solid Barry Allen Flash flick, whether or not the character is remotely like Barry Allen in the comics or anything else. And another reason the Flash probably was hurt was that the show that just had what 9 seasons or 7 seasons ended like 2 weeks before the movie came out, and that had a devoted following, and that TV show wasn't even acknowledged in the movie. It's one more reason that another big group of DC fans were pissed about this film. But yeah, I think the movie like it had a very solid story for Barry Allen. It was funny. The like Back to the Future type of elements of the film, with the time travel, played very well. Humor kind of felt more MCU-y than most DCEU films. Um, it had a awesome introduction for a Supergirl. The George Clooney cameo I thought was a blast, even though I think it could probably alienated the majority of fans. I personally loved it, because we're not getting more of these, so fuck it. Like, I know Kevin Smith has said Warner Brothers tried to get Christian Bale, and he stuck to his guns. It was like, no, 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 not happening. So George Clooney was the backup. I thought it was a hilarious way to end the film.
Yeah.
But the biggest disappointment for me was the fact that you brought back Michael Keaton, and I thought it was a ultimately a wasted opportunity, where they didn't delve enough into his character. I believe you said, Doug, a lot was cut, but I wanted
That's
to
what I
know
heard.
about more that occurred in between Batman Returns and the Flash. Other than, okay, I've stopped crime. I'm just like, I'm just lounging around my mansion now, with
Yeah,
fucking long
I don't know how
hair.
much story related stuff was cut, but
it sounded. Yeah, Muschietti, I had listened to an interview where he was talking about, like, this was before The Flash came out. He was talking about things that got cut. And he was doing like a spoiler discussion, I guess, with people who had already seen it. And he was saying that, you know, some of the things he was saying was like, Batman wouldn't, like, he's like, it's Gotham, crime didn't stop, like, he
Yeah,
didn't solve crime, like, that
yeah.
was a bullshit reason that he gave, and that he like had lost, he like made a mistake and lost somebody was like the real reason.
Oh, well, that would have fucking changed the entire arc of
Yeah,
the fact that
and
I was like, why is
they
he
cut
like
it.
so thankful to have to be returning to Batman, being Batman again? Like, he's dying, and he's like, "Thanks for bringing me back. Like, I needed this." Like, I didn't get the impression that that was needed at all from the film that they
Yeah,
did.
Muschietti said there was like this whole like other plot about like him losing somebody, and like that was the reason why he knew so much about time travel, as he was like trying to figure out time travel in order to like prevent the loss or something. Like there was like key plot details that they pulled out that
that
like
makes a
Jesus
lot of
Christ.
sense. Like, I was sitting when we saw the movie. I'm like, why the fuck does he know so much about time travel? And he like literally knows, like clearly he's done research, but why? Just because? It
Like,
was a huge plot hole for me.
it blew my mind that the most the thing I was most excited about was Michael Keaton's return as Batman, and it was like the fifth or sixth. Like, he didn't skip a beat. Like, he was fucking awesome in it, but he was like the fifth or sixth best thing about the movie, for me. So it was very strange.
yeah. I mean, it was kind of weird because they changed the ending too,
Yeah,
where like they basically, Supergirl and Keaton's Batman get killed and can't be saved, and then that's kind of like just the end of their story.
well, see you later. But they totally get retcon though, because he goes back in time, so they're not actually dead.
Well, they kind of are. I don't know, maybe not.
He
But
saved the
like, it would have
universe by
been
going
like
back in time.
it would have been a lot more feel good had I like seen them at the end and they were like, "Hey, we're back, Barry." Like,
Yeah, it wouldn't. I don't know if it necessarily would have made sense, but like, yes, it would have been. And in one of the multiverses in our world, that happened. Um,
well,
but
maybe
we
like
didn't end up in that universe.
maybe probably what like one of the things, I don't know. I mean, we don't know what happened, but like it could have been just like a convergence of multiple worlds, and that's why they were in his universe.
Yeah, because he
I don't
said
know. There,
there's no way to save the world. In this world, like, there is no way to save the world. Like, Zod is going to destroy the world. Um, the only way to prevent it is to go back in time and for his mom to die. So by doing that, I would assume those two characters aren't dead anymore. They're in another universe. Um, but now we have George Clooney because he fucked with the tomatoes, tomato sauce, and now we have no Ben Affleck. He killed his friend again. Um, uh, but
Such a strange fucking ending.
it's such a strange,
Literally killed off. Killed off.
movie. Strange movie.
I bet there was like a good movie
It was a
somewhere.
good movie, though.
It was a good movie. You could
I-
tell that
do we-
there was.
Was
some-
it though?
I think it's a top half, like in the top half of the DC movies.
I agree with Murph on that one. Above average.
I mean, it's a
And Doug,
It's kind-
your initial response was way more positive than I was expecting. It sounded even more positive than Corey and my conversation.
no. You must have misread my text. I said it was. I walked out and I was just like, it was good. It was fine.
Okay, so in the DCU, I'm assuming you'd put it somewhere in the middle as well.
Maybe just because there's such bad movies out
Yes,
there.
because I mean, there's so much shit.
It's nowhere near like a good movie. I mean, it's yeah. I wouldn't say it's like it's a 6 out of 10, I guess.
Okay, that's not bad.
It's not bad, but it's not good.
I gave it a 7 out of 10. It was like there's not that much of a difference between those two scores.
I would have loved an 8 out of 10 from the movie. I was hoping
I
for
would
an 8
have
out of
loved
10.
I would have loved a 10 out of 10.
I would have settled for an 8 out of 10. You could just feel the cuts in that movie sometimes. There was just a lot of weirdness. Like the way we just like the whole beginning just like cuts around to different stuff. It was almost like a little jarring to me. Like once we finished the hospital babies, the infamous hospital baby
God,
scene,
CGI, man.
that didn't bother me so much.
They also pissed people off with the fucking dead actors recreating them to life. That caused a whole brouhaha on the internet.
Yeah, and a lot of people were upset about the babies falling out of the hospital building.
Well, are they
To me, it
upset
was just like
because it was visually gross, or like putting
both
okay, just in the concept of it happening?
the concept and like the baby in the microwave and
The baby was in the microwave for fucking 1 second, and the microwave wasn't on. Like,
yeah, I don't understand why people
people
are
are so
like,
fucking sensitive. It's so annoying. I personally was disgusted by how bad the CGI was in that scene.
yeah.
Like they should have just went with fucking fake dolls like American Sniper versus using those CGI creatures.
The special effects were a huge distraction for me.
And I am not convinced that they had a slash CGI budget based on how long this movie has been worked on. I just think it was bad CGI. It's the same way Marvel has had tons of bad CGI lately, with the exception of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
But
but
the
you don't
whole-
think a
There's a
lot
whole
of
other
that is
actor that they had to recreate for like the two Ezra Miller stuff. Didn't they like wasn't that CGI?
What do you mean? I
So
thought,
then they had to, like-
thought they parent trapped it.
No.
Yeah, no, it was a body. There was a second actor, and
Yeah.
they recorded Ezra Miller's performance in both places, and then they
So they parent trapped it.
yeah.
Okay.
Parent Trap is the two you film separately
Yes.
and then you like basically like combine the two frames together. You don't like you're not doing like a
They
digital face
superimposed
replacement.
his face onto the other actor's body
Okay.
via
So they
special
social
effects.
networked it.
I guess I didn't think it.
Yeah,
that,
I think
that
so.
looked
Like more of like an
believable.
army hammer. They said they use a camera that like had a shit ton of lenses, and they just focused it on
Mhm.
Ezra Miller's face, so that they could then take that face and like digitally replace his performance
Mhm.
over the other actor who body double.
I thought
All
that.
right.
Was believable.
I didn't even notice it. So
Neither
I
did
guess
I.
they did a very good job with that.
I didn't notice
CGI.
either. There was people like complaining about it, and they were like, "Oh, it's so obvious! Like who was the double?" And
Oh, they got that one by me.
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't see that one. I thought they did that pretty well.
My issues were when he was in that weird. What is that thing?
the Chrono
Chro-
Bowl.
The Chrono Bowl. Everything in that looked repulsive.
It was
And then
Yeah.
awful.
the CGI babies in the beginning. Those were
Sure.
my two issues with CGI.
What did you guys think about the CGI baby scene?
It was fun,
It was fun.
but
yeah, that
I
was fun
couldn't-
too. I didn't.
I
like,
couldn't
hate
really
it, like,
enjoy it because the special effects were just so fucking terrible.
I didn't like the back and forth between Batman and the Flash. I would have been fine just watching the Flash do his thing. I didn't think the Batman stuff was that cool.
Yeah,
I don't think Ben Affleck's a good Batman. Ultimately, I think he's a good. I think he's a fucking great Bruce Wayne, but I don't think he's a very good Batman.
he's a good
That's my consensus
Tom.
after 3-4 movies at this point.
He's kind of a better Thomas Wayne, I think. But
Maybe. So like I wasn't really digging like the cutting back and forth. I would have been fine just dealing with like the Flash doing his thing.
if we were doing like real Flashpoint,
Well, if we're doing real
Could've got-
Flashpoint, which I haven't read yet or seen, it'd be a completely different movie.
Could have gotten Dr. Wayne.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we could have got a lot of really cool things. But we also didn't get any remote reset of the DCEU to the DCU like they talked about. That was a blatant lie.
I mean, they kind of did, where they were just like, peace out, DCU. We're in this with George Clooney. Like, we're out.
But then here's Jason Momoa in the post credits, and
That was dumb.
There's an Aquaman 2 coming out later this year.
Yeah, I think they were just like, oh, this is a fun post credit. We'll just keep it, even though I didn't think it was that great.
It made Momoa look like a moron. Like he reverted back to like him being a drunk, like he was in which movie? Justice League, right? Was when he was the drunk.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't ask me to remember those movies.
Apologies. But
Yeah, he was drinking in Justice League. I mean,
Okay.
I think what I appreciate about the baby thing is that it was kind of like, this is going to be a wacky movie, and it got me like in the right mindset to expect some of like the wacky sense of humor, because it was like that baby scene is like fucking Looney Tunes. Like it's like just like it's like a cartoon.
The whole
Yeah.
movie is
Like-
Looney Tunes.
Yeah, it just feels like an animated cartoon at times. I mean, the fact that there's babies falling in slow motion in the air, and then like one has like acid flying towards it, and then the other one
Yeah.
has like knife, like that. It's the most cartoony, like Bugs Bunny. I was expecting to pop out at some point. Like it's just
Yeah.
like that's such a cartoonish scenario, which was fine, but it kind of gave me that. And then the tooth thing at the end kind of felt like a cartoon too.
Oh,
I don't know. The whole
well,
movie
yeah.
kind of. I was just like, "What is this?" It's like a cartoon. There was like a little bit where, it tries to be serious and emotional.
They got me completely by surprise that Barry Allen wasn't going to have his powers throughout the entire movie, and they got away with making an origin story despite it not being his origin. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of like in Flashpoint to some extent. So I kind of
Mhm.
expected him to lose his powers,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
but I didn't expect them to. They changed it. It was
Yeah.
different.
I like the Justice League cameos that we did get. I like that it shows like why, like something that I've always like nitpick in the Avengers movies, like the solo movies, are like, why don't they just get help from like their buddies? Like in Iron Man 3, why doesn't he just like Tony Stark just hit up like fucking Steve Rogers and whoever else to help him out? In this one, like they clearly show like they're off doing their own things. Like this is why. So I thought that was cool, like in the opening scene.
Yeah, and then Wonder Woman does show up.
Yeah, it seems like Gal is just going to repeatedly show up in these movies for like one quick cameo. Like that's going to be her little send off, like with no Wonder Woman 3. Instead, she's going to get one quick scene in each movie this year. Probably not Blue Beetle, but I wouldn't be shocked if she shows up in Aquaman. Although she's one of the only two people that seemingly in the Justice League is not 100% confirmed to be done with the series. Her and Momoa are like the only two they have not officially confirmed. We know for a fact Henry Cavill, Ray Fisher, and Ben Affleck are done.
Ezra Miller's done.
And Ezra Miller, now we know Ezra Miller is done after this opening weekend. But we do not yet know for sure about Gal and Jason Momoa. We just know that Wonder Woman 3 with Patty Jenkins is not coming out.
They just need to make a clean break.
I think they're going to.
I don't like
especially-
Gal is fine, but like I kind of want another Wonder Woman. Like, and then Momoa, like I love the Lobo stuff. Like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's keep him there. Let's just have him be Lobo. Let's just cast a new Aquaman that's more Aquaman-y.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that'll be the route they go. It'll be interesting. What if Aquaman 2 is a massive success?
I
I know we don't. I know none of us think it's going to happen, but What if it is?
It's not going to be.
I don't think it's going to matter if it is either. It's just going to.
So you think no matter what, Jason Momoa is not coming back as Aquaman?
Nope. I don't think Aquaman's going to be even part of the picture to begin with. He doesn't have to be.
You could make Aquaman 3 as an Elseworlds movie.
Could.
Like anything DCU related, they want to continue it if based on successful properties, they could continue it just as an Elseworlds thing.
It's not going to be successful. Let's stop living in fantasy land.
It's possible. The first movie made $1.1 billion.
Time. It's not going to happen.
All right. We'll see it. Fuck it. We'll see where we draft it in December. I know I can get it as a late pick, based on your opinions.
Yeah, you should try to get it early though, just because it's gonna be a big hit.
I mean,
look at how much Aquaman the first movie made.
There's not gonna be many big box office hits in the fall if you look at what's coming out. So it might be something that somebody drafts in the first round out of desperation. Especially because you think the Marvels is going to be the biggest bomb in the world, which I do think it's going to drop at like 50% from the first movie, for various reasons.
Yeah,
I think both Aquaman 2 and the Marvels are both going to drop about 50% from their first installments.
Okay, I guess we shall see. Someone write that down, and we can look back. See if you got it right.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy way to just 500 million, around 500 million, between 500 and 600 million for both of them, probably. But we'll see.
I mean, go back to the Flash. I agree. Like, it would have been nice for the Keaton to be a little bit more involved. I thought the old man, long hair, kitchen scene was a little bit bizarre.
That sucked. That was one of the worst parts of the movie.
Kind of like went into that weird piece of the movie where I was just like, what the fuck am I watching? Gets better with the mandatory time travel explanation scene using food.
Spaghetti.
Yep. So that's when I got, and then like once he cuts his hair and it's it's all Michael Keaton. It's not some stunt double that they threw a gray wig on to do the fight scenes.
What? That wasn't Michael Keaton?
It's it's better. Seeing the Batcave again was cool. Seeing the Batmobile again was cool. The fact that they didn't use the Batmobile was a missed opportunity, I think.
Yeah.
Wayne Manor was cool. You got a couple callbacks.
Yep.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people being like, why didn't they make the city look anything like Tim Burton's Batman movies? Granted, Tim Burton's two Batman movies, they don't even look the same. Gotham City, so at least they got the mansion fucking right.
It should have just looked like Batman from Batman Forever or Batman and Robin.
If by the end, when he returns to fucking neon world of George Clooney.
I thought when we were introduced to Michael Keaton in the movie, I was like, I know this is Michael Keaton, but it would be really funny if it was Alfred, and Alfred was just like old and ragged. Obviously, it wouldn't be Michael Go, but if it was supposed to be him, that would have been hilarious.
That would have been funny.
Yeah,
but we got breakdancing Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, it was stupid.
I kind of wish that we got a little bit more from that world. I know we had talked about like it would have been cool if they got Michelle Pfeiffer back.
Yeah, their other DC nods were strange in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like you got the Batman '89 back. Like, you got Keaton back. You could do from Batman Returns. Like, sure, you could have pulled in Danny DeVito. I mean, granted, you mentioned like he shouldn't like be alive, but it's an alternate universe. You could bring him back.
Bring back.
I think Michelle Pfeiffer probably, I don't know how
All
much
bets
it would
are
cost.
literally off.
Michelle Pfeiffer was busy not telling her daughter about what was going on in the quantum realm, so she couldn't appear in the film.
I'm sure they could have like thrown her in for a brief cameo to be like, I don't know what she would have been doing, but we could have figured it out.
It would have been cool.
She seems like she's acting again. Like timing seems right.
They could have even gotten Jack.
I like the laughing bag. That was a good nod.
Laughing bag was
Bag was a good nod.
The pen was a good nod to Alfred. I was happy with those. They're minor, but they were cool.
It had some neat nods.
But all right, let's go to the horrible, horrible scene that was the chronosphere. What is it? Is that what it's called?
Chrono Ball.
Chrono Ball. The final Chrono Ball scene where you're seeing the other universes.
We're skipping ahead.
All right, sure. Continue. With where you
All right,
want.
so we talked about seeing Keaton again. Obviously, then we get CGI Keaton going around, flying around like never before.
Yeah. We've skipped the Back to the Future stuff. As three Back to the Future nerds, that was fucking great.
It was probably the highlight of the movie.
I whispered to one of the people next to me the first time they mentioned Eric Stoltz. I go, holy shit, this is amazing. This is how he's going to find out he's in the fake universe. And like eventually they do get back to it and really talk in depth about Back to the Future and all these actors and what movies they ended up actually being in. And I love that scene. Like that.
Do you remember what it was? I know they changed out like Top Gun, Dirty Dancing. Like Kevin Bacon switched.
Michael J. Fox was in Footloose.
Kevin Bacon was in Top Gun.
Was Tom Cruise and
Tom Cruise did not say what he was in. Yeah, they called Top Gun like the gay volleyball movie or something like that. But that was very funny. That whole thing, the Eric Stoltz tattoo, everything about that, I was like, this is great. Such a funny way to find out like he's in another universe as Back to the Future nerds, and as that film was clearly an inspiration for the film.
That's probably what Tom Cruise loved about the movie.
Yeah, probably. He's like, oh yeah, man, my movie got shattered out.
It was weird watching that because I was like, like of course the three of us are like, this is great. Like we know like all the backstory of Back to the Future. We're big Back to the Future fans, but it was like, is anyone else like?
It is an inside baseball movie. You need to fucking know shit.
Yeah.
And that's what one of the things I was gonna say about the Chrono Bowl, like the Nicolas Cage thing, which we'll get to later. Yeah. You need to know your shit, like on the internet, to understand what the fuck was going on there. But we'll get to that later. So yes, you were Michael Keaton's Batman. They're going to save
CGI.
Zod's coming down. So we're back in the Man of Steel era.
Yeah, and so they go to rescue what they think is going to be a captured Kal-El. I'm not going to make comparisons between this and the Flashpoint comic because I know you intend on reading it, and I don't want to spoil anything for you, but it's not Kal-El, it's Supergirl, it's Sasha Calle's Supergirl. One that looks like it's going to be a one and done at the moment for her.
Unfortunately, because she was very good.
Mm-hmm.
She was very good. It's an interesting character because it's not clear when she got captured, how long she's been captured. She seems like
you have to be under the assumption that she's been under as long as in Man of Steel he gets found as a kid.
Baby.
In Man of Steel, he's a baby.
Yeah, he's an infant.
So I'm assuming she landed as an infant, and by the time she started showing abilities, she was captured.
I thought they mentioned. I could be wrong, but I thought they mentioned that she was sent after the fact to make sure that he got to Earth.
I mean, I thought he gets sent like as the planet's getting blown up, so I thought she couldn't get sent after the fact.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. I thought she was like basically timelines were the same for Man of Steel. Like,
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess she somehow they don't capture her right away when the ship crashes because she just like spoke English too well and like.
but I got the
seemed too
impression
with
she
it.
had never met a good human being.
Yeah.
Based on her like asking like, why did you choose to save me? Like, why did you save me? Like, you didn't have to and stuff like that. Like, she'd only dealt with assholes. Like, she never dealt with like a Ma and Pa Kent.
Yeah. Well,
Granted,
then, like
Pa
Keaton was
Kent
like,
basically told his son like, people are terrible. Hide the fact that you're an alien.
yeah, I don't think James Gunn's podcast's gonna do that.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, maybe she was in captivity since she landed as like a kid.
She couldn't have been though because she knew like English and everything too well, and she was in Russia.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But like, not that this movie seemed to care about like facts. But yeah, I mean, I thought she did a good job. I thought it was funny that Keaton was like, "Leave her. It's not him. Let's go." Shut the door on the way out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought she did a good job. I think she could be a good superhero or a good Supergirl. It's just a problem because it's not gonna. I think what James Gunn is gonna want to do is like the Donner type of Superman, like the wholesome,
Yeah.
goody two shoes Superman. And if he's trying to go that way with Supergirl, then like that version doesn't fit. I don't know. Maybe she could do an okay job being like a more traditional
she'll have to
Supergirl.
play like a variant of it. It wouldn't be the same one.
Yeah, and I don't know if and it's not like anyone saw this Flash movie that they're going to be confused by it.
Yeah, that's the good thing. Like, that's one thing to be like, all right, well, nobody actually saw it, so like we could reuse you, and it won't actually be an issue, because nobody gives a shit about the Flash. They won't even probably remember you were in the marketing, because it was more focused on Michael Keaton's return and the Flash.
Yeah,
But
no, I think so.
I just think they're going to go for clean breaks for most things.
Yeah, but I think we will all agree she did a good job in her role, which was basically just supposed to be a Superman that wasn't raised by good people, like a superhero that wasn't raised by good people, and so, the way that she fights, she's just fucking murdering people left and right when she gets out, which I think made sense for that character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they go and fight Zod somewhere after that.
In the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere, CGI escape.
I think they were in that middle of nowhere, though, in Man of Steel for like a moment, weren't they? Like, doesn't he give his speech there as well?
In Russia?
No, were they still in Russia at that point?
Oh, I don't remember.
I thought they were back in the States, in like a desert type of area.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
Doesn't that follow? There's a scene where Zod is meeting with like the military in Man of Steel.
I think that was supposed to be the same location.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is a lot cheaper than fighting in fucking cityscapes and murdering like 3 million people.
Yeah. So I mean, when we have that, it's Michael Shannon returning to his role as Zod,
begrudgingly. He's like, I wish I didn't return. Like, this movie isn't that interesting for me.
I wonder how much Michael Keaton got paid at the end of the day for all this. All this stuff that he's
I thought they said
never going to be.
I thought it was cheap. Like, he made like 4 times as much for Homecoming than he did for this.
For all of his appearances?
Well, I guess he only got paid for this and Batgirl.
I thought I had read that he got paid like $2 million.
That's what I read. Yeah, that's what I read too. 2 or 3 million, and I read like 12 million for Homecoming.
I mean, he probably part of it was being able to like be his Batman character again.
I'm sure he'll get paid well for Beetlejuice.
Yep. Yeah, so I mean, what did you guys think of Michael Shannon coming back as the villain? Did you think it was like interesting at all?
I mean, it's good for the whole full circleness of the DCU, but I mean,
He didn't get anything to
he
do,
didn't get really much to do.
which makes
Yeah.
sense. Makes sense with why he made his comments.
Yeah.
The comments that he did, because like it was completely just like a very surface level type of appearance. He barely even talked.
Yeah, it almost didn't feel like you needed him actually there.
It was just likeness, I guess.
They kept the helmet up the whole time. Obviously, or what I assume is because they didn't feel like spending the money to completely de-age him. So that they wanted like the helmet
Probably.
up as like kind of a buffer because it distorts the face and everything a bit. So
What's her
Didn't
name
have to be
wasn't
as-
actually in it, right? That was just all canned special effects.
I have
Whatever
no
her name
idea.
That was the same actress as Man of Steel.
So she came
Was
back.
she
The-
back?
The Kryptonian that was like by his
Yeah.
side in Man of Steel. I believe
Yeah.
that was the same actress.
Nice. I
Did
thought
she
it was
didn't
just,
physically on set for that?
She didn't get dick to do, but
yeah.
I don't think she had any dialogue.
I don't
right?
think she did
No,
either.
she didn't. That's why I thought it was just like CG likeness.
Going into it, I was pretty sure that it was the same actress,
Okay.
but I could be wrong. I'll proof it now while you're continuing to talk.
Yeah, and so then we get the big fight. You know, discover that our heroes are fated to die over and over again, or that the fate can't be changed.
Yeah, that was her.
And so, you know, we get one of the great Flash time travel sequences where he goes into the Chrono Bowl to undo time, where we get some of the best CGI that's ever been put to film take place.
There was one shot of Barry's dad, like in the Chrono Bowl. It didn't even look like I forgot the actor's name who plays his father in the movie.
Who plays whose father?
Berries.
Livingston.
Ron Livingston.
Yeah,
Yeah, like there was like a shot of his
couldn't
face.
get Billy Crudup back from Justice League.
Yeah, he looked. It looked so cartoony.
Well, Henry Cavill looks so cartoony.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
They all
I mean,
anyone
every
looks
cameo-
everyone outside of like the ones that they really focused on, like where they looked at a specific universe,
Right.
looked incredibly like.
But even the specific universes looked bad, I thought. Like I thought both Reeves didn't look great.
Oh well, they poorly fucking brought him back to life.
Yeah, Reeves looked terrible.
Nick Cage, apparently they had on set. I mean, you've been wanting to talk about that.
Yeah, they de-aged.
They had him on set apparently, and it's like, really? I just thought you like created this CGI character because
I thought it was just DJ. It didn't look real.
Yeah, they had him on set and de-aged him.
Horrible de-aging.
Audience seemed to love that scene in the movie theater. I like rolled my eyes. Like this is the stupidest thing like in the world. I'm aware that he was at one point going to play Superman.
And like Kevin Smith had him like fighting a giant
John
spider.
Peters wanted him to fight a giant spider.
Yeah.
And yeah, Kevin Smith wrote it, but I was like, this is such fucking corny fan service. Especially because that movie just sounded terrible. Long-haired Superman, like Con Air fucking era, Nicolas Cage as Superman is like the most unappealing thing in the world to me.
With that crazy ass suit that they created.
Oh my god, it's so fucking
They spent
bad.
so much goddamn money on that suit.
Oh, that angered me.
But that's another one that, I mean, and I think this is the point you were making earlier, is like, how many people know about that?
Yeah, not that many. Like I don't know. Well, based on the amount of people that actually saw this movie, probably a fair percentage actually did know.
Well, yeah,
probably, yeah.
For the people that actually saw it, yeah.
if it had mass appeal, I am sure that percentage would have went down greatly. But yeah, like I don't know. It was so like inside baseball, like I was saying. Like really need to know what was going behind the scenes with DC over the past 30 years to understand what that was about.
It was incredibly meta.
The people they chose to show was just strange. Like they showed what the only one they brought back to life was Christopher Reeve, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Flash wasn't. It was just a random like
random dude.
I thought we had George Reeves too.
Well, we had George
and Adam West.
We
right?
had them, but it was just archival footage from YouTube.
Right.
Yeah. It wasn't recreations. It was just footage.
I think it's fucked up. You bring back George Reeves in the fact that he ultimately resented the fact that he was Superman and got typecast and couldn't get other roles and ended up killing himself, or was murdered. We're not actually sure what actually happened with his death. So like, it probably shouldn't have brought him back. Adam West, cool. It was all archival footage, whatever. Archival footage is fair game. Why don't you just use archive footage for Christopher Reeve in Superman? He never shared a scene with Helen Slater as Supergirl, right?
I don't think so.
No.
Like, I don't know. Why didn't you just go archival footage with that instead of like bringing him back from the dead? Like a guy who was paralyzed, who made it clear he didn't want to be standing in any appearances after he got paralyzed, and then they have him standing.
Yeah,
I just find it weird, and like it looked shitty. So why not just go the easy route?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know that it didn't bother me so much that he had died. It bothered me, or I wouldn't even say it bothered me. It was just not impactful because of how bad it looked. Like it looked like
shit.
Video game version, like recreation of Christopher Reeves as Superman. Like it didn't.
Yes, archival footage. Well, he would have looked better.
Yeah, and I mean, none of it had for me like any impact. Like I wasn't like cheering or like this is amazing.
Like they probably
I cheered for, but
they probably should have brought back Grant Gustin. Like you brought Ezra Miller onto the Flash at one point. Fucking repay the favor. Like it's got a fan base.
Ezra Miller was on the Flash.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really? Interesting.
During like Crisis, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So why the fuck didn't they? That I did not know about, and that's even more puzzling.
That's where he got the name The Flash. He gets the name The Flash on the Crisis on Infinite Earths event series.
Really? That's where they connect the dots on how he was named the Flash?
Yes.
How he got
That's where he gets the idea of the name The Flash.
Yeah, and then the shows weren't good enough to put it in this movie. Okay. Interesting.
I think James Gunn does not like the Arrowverse. He has not acknowledged it like at all. Like with all these shows ending and things like that. Like all the movies are getting acknowledgement, but these TV shows are not getting like a fucking peep out of them.
I thought I had read that Greg Gustin might have filmed something for the Flash. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So he just got fucked over.
So he might have just been one of the many scenes.
They did say there were tons of people that they talked about bringing back, and ultimately they were like, "Oh, there's just too many like options."
I heard that Ryan Reynolds was one of them.
Fucking, they could have had Deadpool come and shot him in the head, like at the end of Deadpool 2.
Never mind. Muschietti said that there was a long list, and he just didn't make the cut.
Who was the one? There was some. He referenced some specific people that he thought about. Is it in that
Muschietti?
article? Yeah.
I'm checking.
Also with Christopher Reeve, like if you wanted to do like a live action one, you could have just had Brandon Routh return. He was playing the exact same version of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's not Christopher Reeve, so it's not going to get the impact that they were hoping they were going to get. But all they got was a backlash. So they should have just went with Brandon Routh. He was on the Crisis event as well.
Yep. Well,
Did,
he was also part of the Arrowverse. He as a separate
as
character.
another
There's
character.
another
Right?
character, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot his name. I'm assuming
Just like Christopher Reeve was on fucking Smallville as another character.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Corey?
I'm sure Christopher Reeve's family was not very happy about.
Well, I think they had to approve it.
Oh, they ultimately did. Okay, well that's good.
I imagine the estate has to approve it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think they could have just.
that's at least good, even though it was
Yeah.
not very tastefully done.
Yeah. Just like I imagine Peter Cushing's estate had to approve Grand Moff Tarkin being in Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine that something is going to be in the Screen Actors Guild, the AFTRA contracts about likenesses after death and things like that in this current negotiation period, because it's becoming such a common thing nowadays.
With deep faking and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it was. I definitely want to see the movie again, but it was a strange one. I was not expecting it to be as wacky as it was. At least in that one. It's a wacky story, but a lot of it is very different. It's not really the same story that you get in the comic.
I like how they also acknowledge Cyborg, despite the fact that Ray Fisher
Yeah.
is a petulant child and fucked his chance of being in the movie.
A long time ago.
Yeah. He still talks shit. But he'll just do Zack Snyder movies for the rest of his career. But I like the fact that like he still like existed. I thought the emotional impact of Barry's story was solid, with the goodbye with his mom and everything. But the whole story with his parents was rock solid, even though he didn't really learn his lesson by changing the future.
Back to the Future is it?
Yeah.
That's the Marty McFly way, right? He changed something about the past that ultimately made his life better. That's
just fucked over
Back
other
to the
people.
Future, right? Like the whole Back to the Future plot. Marty gets George to stand up to Biff, and then it makes his life better than it was in the past. Grant Gustin kind of moves the tomato cans, and
Grant Gustin didn't do that. Ezra Miller.
Or not Grant Gustin, Ezra Miller. Sorry.
But don't you think, like, after Ezra Miller realized after Barry Allen realized he needed to change, like, he needed his mom to die, because fucking other people are going to suffer. Once he goes back in time and he sees George Clooney, he wouldn't have gone right back in time and changed things back to the way they should have been. So Ben Affleck would have been there again.
He would have been like, fuck this. No.
Or do we think he's like just didn't learn his lesson and he's selfish and like he's just like, okay, whatever. I guess maybe Ben Affleck is somewhere else in multiverse.
Yeah, I don't know that he changed it back. I don't know. He got his dad back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine he doesn't change it back. That would be really reckless. Because every time you change it, you're just going to make something worse.
Yeah.
I don't
know.
I imagine that the sequel probably had him maybe. Well,
they
now
said
with
the
the George
sequel
Clooney
is
ending, I don't even know.
They said the sequel, like the whole reason, because like one of the weird things is like they never explore his mom gets killed, and he never like tries to stop her murder from happening.
Yeah.
Instead, she just like hypothesizes that if his dad was there, that she wouldn't have gotten murdered, which is kind of like a large leap. Because like I don't know.
Yeah, like if the car was there, then nobody would have broken into the house.
Yeah,
that didn't make sense to me either, because everyone being home is not going to stop a murder from happening. That person who was going to come into the house is probably still going to come into the house.
Yeah, his thought was the person thought no one was home because there was no car in the driveway.
I don't buy
Doesn't
it.
that make sense? No.
No, I don't
But
buy it.
No, I mean they said that the reason why they held off on like the murderer thing is because they were hoping to deal with the Reverse Flash in Flash 2.
Right. Yeah.
And then Crisis would have been after Flash 2. Because I know at one point, like they were leading to doing Crisis.
Yeah.
Were they?
Yeah.
Crisis of Infinite Earths. Yeah, you're probably right.
I thought it was like I was kind of pissed that there was no Reverse Flash.
I was, yeah.
I thought they were hiding him, and I was way off base, even though they had other very rare like Reverse Flash colors, like the yellow, the red.
Yeah,
They tricked you.
They did trick me. I was like, he's a Reverse Flash, and it was like, nope, he's this like lame Dark Flash or whatever the fuck that character was.
Dark Flash.
He was a lame villain. I still didn't like really understand like
he wasn't even a villain. He wasn't really. I don't count him as a villain. He wasn't really part of it. I mean, he was part of it, but
I think he was ultimately supposed to be the big bad, right?
I guess,
Himself.
but it didn't come across that way. Like it was so short lived once you found out what was going on.
It was deep. We're all our own worst enemy. That's what the movie was trying to convey.
Yeah.
Ezra Miller is his own worst enemy.
I mean, that's true.
They did also make a joke about the Justice League not having great mental health support, which I thought was a funny little line.
That was funny. Oh, the stuff with we didn't talk about this. At least I don't think we did. Ben Affleck got a great send off. His stuff was great. I enjoyed it.
I thought his stuff as Bruce Wayne was great.
Yeah, I thought the stuff with Batman was great. The one thing that I like so cringy was the dialogue when Wonder Woman showed up.
The lasso stuff.
That was terrible. Like really bad in my opinion.
He's like talking about how he like should use his money to cure
I thought it was
poverty
funny.
or something.
I thought it was very funny.
It was funny, and I guess it lines up with the tone of that movie. But I was just like, this is like really cringy. But I didn't hate it. I thought it was weird, I guess. But the whole movie's weird.
But yeah, I thought Ben Affleck's like all his stuff as Bruce Wayne. I thought was rock solid. I've thought that since Zack Snyder's Justice League. He's a very good Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his Batman, just his voice, nothing connects with me when he's Batman. Are we fucking happy that Andy Muschietti is doing Brave and the Bold? As they strategically announced it at 7 p.m. on the Thursday night that the Flash opened.
Mm-hmm. They knew.
Oh yeah.
They knew that the movie was just going to fucking bomb. I think he's going to be good. I don't know exactly what they're going for. If they're going for what I think they're going for, then I think he'll be good because the comic that I'm thinking of is very trippy and like out there, and I think he can do that very well, like that style. But it has to have some more cohesion than this. I don't think this was ultimately his fault. The movie got ripped apart multiple times, but he did a good job, and I think that he's a decent pick.
Yeah, I think he's serviceable. I think they could have got someone better.
Yeah.
Like I thought It 2 was pretty fucking bad, and It 1 is ultimately just a bunch of jump scares over and over again when you rewatch it. So I don't think he's really like that great a director. But like I said, I thought this movie was pretty good. So I think I'll be all right. His Batman stuff that he actually, other than that opening scene, was solid.
I also wonder, and I was thinking about this the other day, if a lot of directors or directors that would be up for this type of, project are just not interested at this point because
Possible.
one, the decline, two, putting yourself, up against, all of these fans and, the internet backlash.
You're in direct competition with Matt Reeves' movies.
Yeah, I mean, as a director, I wouldn't want to do that, even if I was a huge fan of the subject material.
Are we gonna have a fully formed Bat family at this point? Like, is there going to be a Nightwing and a Red Robin? And,
Sounds like it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
if
sounds
they're
like
doing Damian Wayne,
and a Red Hood.
then we're gonna be pretty far down the road,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, we're like four Robins in at this point.
Yeah, they're all around in that comic. So I would imagine, yeah, he's gonna flesh out like the Batverse section of the DCU,
But not the Batman verse.
but not the Batman. Yeah.
I think they should just fucking get rid of the idea of doing a shared universe and just make every movie its own thing.
I would love that. Just have stories.
I think they're 15 years behind the game in the MCU. Having to do a whole reboot after 10 years. I don't know if people are going to connect to starting over again.
Yeah, I would do individual stories, or maybe like Batman Brave and the Bold is its own thing, an own contained thing if you do multiple movies, but no shared universe.
I disagree. I think I want the shared universe still.
Because you want to see your good Justice League, which will happen when you're 50 years old.
Yeah, I want the good Justice League. I think Batman and Superman together is a funny dynamic that I'd like to see some more of. Just because they're very different people. And yeah, I just think it would be it. The comics are shared. So I would kind of like to see that kind of format where I don't need Superman showing up in every Batman movie or show, but if there's a threat big enough that they need to pull together the Justice League, I think they could be entertaining as long as it's not like Avengers 2.0.
So don't bring Joss Whedon back to
I don't think anyone's bringing Joss Whedon back to anything anymore.
When you sent that clip today of David Corn Sweat from that Hollywood show, give me the idea that they should just make it a period piece, the Superman movie, and just have it take place like around the time that the Superman comics first came out. I think you gotta swing for the fences and do something like different. This is the fucking third iteration of Superman in the 21st century.
They could just do like a period piece and then he gets trapped in ice.
Sure. I mean, fuck it.
I don't present day, like Captain America.
Completely rip off Captain America because they made a dork fucking cool in Captain America. They're gonna have to do the same here with Superman.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of the same concept. If you've got like this like kind of like old school like period like American Pie type of character.
Yeah. I think they
it's
should
hard for
with James Bond too, like make a 60s period piece James Bond movie as something to do different than Daniel Craig. Like try some new shit. Even if it's just for like a movie or two.
I guess we'll see. The hard thing is they're going to want to do the shared universe, so they're not going to want to do a period piece.
I know.
Unless there's like time travel or something.
I don't understand the title, Superman Legacy, if he's just becoming Superman. He doesn't have a legacy yet.
He's building the legacy.
I guess.
Maybe it's not really Superman, it's Superboy.
Is it Is that based
That
on?
would be terrible.
Is that based on a comic too, or is it completely original? What he's doing?
I think it's a completely original.
There's a comic called The Legacy of Superman.
Maybe he's not. Maybe he's Superman's like offspring.
Or clone. That would be Superboy.
No, not clone per se. Offspring, and Kal-El is dead somehow.
That'd be a horrible idea. Let's like throw away our main character and just
Corey,
like have this other.
Corey, you're fired.
I'm thinking different here,
Yeah, you are trying.
And that's how they can bring back Henry Cavill and have him fucking die like in the first.
He's already died in the series.
Have him die again. 10 minutes.
Is Gunn gonna ever announce the other half of the slate, or is he just like, this is enough?
Oh wait, what do you mean? Like, because he announced 5 movies?
And it was only supposed to be half the slate.
Yeah, he announced 5 movies and 5 TV shows. I mean, the rate they're going with writer strikes and whatnot,
I wouldn't
bother anytime soon.
The fact that they did casting announcements prior to Comic-Con is interesting because, like, I wonder if they're even going to go to Comic-Con.
Warner Brothers hasn't yet said they're not going.
Yeah.
A lot of studios so far have already said they're not, and they're not one of them that has said anything.
But this was something that you would have saved for Comic-Con in normal times.
Yeah, but Murph made a good point because of the actors.
Yeah, they needed to lock them in before the potential actor strike.
But if there are on strike, then I mean, I guess that's the issue for everybody with Comic-Con is if the actors are on strike. Like,
yeah, they just want to make sure that the contracts, I guess, are
exactly
finalized.
It's more about contracts than getting news out publicly. It's very rare that people are announced at Comic-Con. Most of the time, it just shows up on Variety. We see it like a Monday at 8 p.m. or something. Mm-hmm. Like that's how we found out about Ben Affleck and plenty of other people in the past. Like we typically find out about like the movies that are being made at Comic-Con, and occasionally we get a rare character. We got Channing Tatum as Gambit. Still waiting for that movie to come out. And Mahershala Ali as Blade. Still waiting for that one too.
Yeah, God, when did that get announced? The Mahershala Ali?
2019.
Yep, that is correct.
Right.
Yep. But yeah, Marvel has said they're not attending Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And yeah, no actors will be able to attend if they're on strike. It's gonna be a shitty Comic-Con this year. But hopefully,
any parting thoughts about the Flash?
I want to see how it holds up on the second viewing. If it falls apart more for me, or if I like it more, or if I feel exactly the same.
My guess is I'll feel like pretty much exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anything I've heard has been, like it was either like the same or worse on rewatch. So it doesn't. Nothing I heard was like it gets better, which makes sense. I mean, when you think back on that movie, there wasn't anything to like really explore more. If anything, like probably more of the holes.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of plot holes in that movie.
Should they have written this movie off for tax purposes instead of, or with Batgirl or instead of Batgirl?
Seems like it.
Seems like it, yeah. Now,
in hindsight,
should they have done that with this entire 2023 slate?
They probably should have just released Blue Beetle, and that would have been it. But not in theaters. Release Blue Beetle like on a platform, and then everything else tax write-off.
Well, they've established putting things on platforms is a waste of money.
Yeah.
That's why Corey, you mentioned earlier Blue Beetle and potentially going to HBO Max. Max.
Yeah.
I do not see that happening because it is just throwing away money. Just go with a low marketing budget and make
So,
as much as you can in theaters.
talking about the tax write-offs. So, if Warner Brothers, let's say, let's say they were like, "Fuck it, we're just gonna cancel Aquaman." Can they do that and write it off, or is it too late?
It's too late. They had to do it last year.
Okay.
Everything is set in
Set in
stone
motion.
now. Yeah, there's nothing they can do. Probably should have put out Aquaman before the Flash, and let
Yes.
George Clooney be the final thing people saw. But
It makes no sense. I don't understand why Aquaman. They're dying on that hill, where
Yeah.
Aquaman needs to be the last. I don't understand, but they could have very easily just flipped it. They could have just had Flash come out in December and
Yep.
Aquaman come out in the summer.
Yep. But
And Aquaman's done. It's been done.
Yeah, was any of the Batman going to appear in the movie now? Because at one point Michael Keaton was in it, and at one point Ben Affleck was in it.
Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck filmed stuff apart. They filmed stuff together, apparently. Somehow. And then I think Gal Gadot filmed some shit. I don't know if Ezra Miller did. There was like so much shit that they filmed for this movie over the past couple years that they just ultimately cut.
James Gunn can't wait for this lame duck period to end. I can only imagine. Tonight he was probably so happy that Gotham Knights had its last episode. Like, every time something ends, he's probably just like popping champagne. They only have one CW show left.
Well, he loves Clark and Lois or Superman and Lois.
Yeah, unfortunately, CW doesn't. They slash the budget, the episodes, and the cast. So it's returning, but
so it probably has one season left.
Probably has one season left. Doom Patrol will be done at the end of the year, and then at this point, it's just like really like Elseworlds stuff, and yeah, the remainder of the DCEU.
Pennyworth still going strong?
Nope, Pennyworth was canceled earlier this year, along with Titans.
That's one I gotta watch.
Those are both done. The only live action shows that are still on are Superman and Lois, Peacemaker, and the Penguin is in production. And then the only animated shows are Teen Titans Go, Harley Quinn, Creature Commandos, which is part of the DCU, and then there's some new Superman show coming on Adult Swim this summer that Jack Quaid voices. And then they're still talking about that Batman the Animated Series sequel series.
They're trying to sell it.
Yeah, they're trying to sell it.
They sold 2 seasons to Amazon Prime, didn't they?
Oh, did they?
Oh, yeah, I didn't. I only heard that they were trying to sell it because it's like
I'm pretty sure
done.
What is it? Bruce Tim,
yeah,
Bruce Tim, Matt Reeves, J.J. Abrams might be the third person involved in that. And yeah, it's an Amazon Prime show.
Is that this year?
No, I doubt it'll never happen. Now that Conroy's passed, I doubt it ever happens. And because I doubt Mark Hamill has basically said, now that he's passed, like I won't do Joker again. So I don't know. I don't see it actually happening. But I've been wrong plenty of times before, so we'll see. But no, I got nothing else to say about the Flash. I'm sorry it did as poorly as it did, but it has been funny to watch it do as bad as it's done because it's rare that something bombs so fucking badly.
At the very least, it was an objectively good movie.
It should have happened to a worse movie.
It should have happened to a worse movie. Yes.
There are so many movies that are significantly worse that had hype that should have done way worse. But
the sad thing is that because of the baggage this universe has, this movie it's just going to be buried. People are just going to forget about it.
Yeah, it's good for James Gunn though. That's the
they're going
case.
to very easily forget about it, unfortunately. But unfortunately for him, unfortunately for fans.
One last question that I pose to you: James Gunn has a 10-year contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we think
No, he doesn't.
He does
he
not.
did.
What does he have?
Thought it was a much shorter contract.
Really? I thought it was 10 years.
Yeah.
I thought everyone does their 10-year plan.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. Because didn't they say
4-year
that?
contract.
Yeah, that's not very long.
Most of his stuff isn't even going to be out by then. Especially with the writer's strike now. Superman Legacy is not going to be out until what, 2025?
Yeah, he's going to be 2.5 years into his contract when his first movie comes out.
Oh, God. That's really... Wow. Okay.
Okay. I don't even need to ask a question. He will complete his 4-year contract.
Or maybe he won't.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, fucking Warner Brothers. All right, here's my final question: is Warner Brothers Discovery going to be a thing in a year, or is Warner Brothers going to be sold off within the next year?
I think it's going to be sold.
It just seems to be bleeding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I imagine if they do, they sell everything off individually. They sell DC, they sell Discovery.
I don't know how it goes.
I mean, I don't remember the things that they own exactly, but that's what I think. Because you're right, they're bleeding. Everything is bleeding money over there, especially DC. And we're not going to get anything from James Gunn for a year and a half.
Yeah.
When does Creature Commandos come out? And that's just a show?
Supposed to be that and Waller were supposed to be next year, but that's definitely not going to happen. But for at least one of them.
So we're looking at probably 2.
But Blue Beetle's part of the DCU though, so he's the first character in the DCU.
Yeah, but that movie
we have to remember that.
We do, but it's not going to make money,
and it doesn't make sense.
And it doesn't make sense. It's only going to make sense because they cut everything that connects to the Snyderverse out of the movie, which probably wasn't a lot to begin with.
Probably not. All right, I got nothing else. If you guys got nothing else,
nope. Rest in peace, The Flash.
R.I.P. Snyderverse. You were a wild ride.
You were. All right.
Fucking hate Batman vs Superman. I'm just gonna say that and put it on record.
Yes.
Effing garbage.
All three of us are on that's one of the worst movies of all time. Train, right?
100%. We had this conversation last week. Just thinking about that movie still to this day makes me angry. I get all fired up.
Viscerally angry at Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I get fired up with that movie.
Well, hopefully we get a better Lex Luthor this time. All right, that's all we got for today. Thank you again for listening. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Follow us on YouTube podcasts. That's something we're on recently. Plenty of places to find us. But next episode, not sure the main topic, but we will resume our yearly film series where we will cover a few films that we wanted to shout out from 2022 that we didn't think were fully that we enjoyed and didn't think we got the full recognition it deserved. We did it from 1980 to 2020 and then have since done 2021, but we're due to do 2022. As always, this has been Corey, Doug, and Murph at Liberty Film. See you again next time, film fans.
Bye.